Hi, welcome to Star Power Alchemy YouTube. My name is Alejandra Sofia, bringing to you the astrological news from the macrocosm to the microcosm of you to help you navigate your reality and the times we are living in. This is my weekly report from June 10th until June 16th, 2019. First, please check out my videos below in the descriptions and please subscribe to my channel if you're interested in receiving 1 to 2 reports a week. I always cover a weekly report, the energies, the key aspects of the week, as well as I'm offering special reports on key aspects to this year and things that are very much inspiring me. So on with this week, this rich week of evolution and consciousness and being on this journey with ourselves and with all of our relationships and alive on planet Earth, fully embodied physically beings, right? Blood, breath, sight, sound. This is a very sensual experience, and we are in a rich week of the second quarter moon. The second quarter moon, there's 4 quarters in every moon 29-day wave spell cycle, and that initiates through the new moon, and we come into the half moon on the half moon waxing, and then the full moon, and then the half moon waning back to the new moon. So those are the 4 quarters. We are in second quarter from half moon waxing until full moon on June 17th. I have a full moon video below in the descriptions. Please check it out. So we are in this time always from the new moon to the full moon. We're in this crux period in the half moon waxing, in which we're really receiving these, you know, as subtle as it is, it's very subtle, but we're receiving energetic adjustments as we're opening up to what's possible for ourselves. And with this new moon that's seated on June 3rd, 2019, through the GEMiNi landscape, I'll say it that way. The landscape of GEMiNi is air, mutable air, and it's very kind of actional oriented in its way, and it's about multidimensional open door scapes of possibility and fine-tuning yourself, because we had I need to go into the recent past, very recent past, which was yesterday. We had on June 9th, we had our half moon waxing. So it was with the Gemini sun and the moon in Virgo, and moon in Virgo very much is key to nesting within yourself and taking care of your physical, mental, emotional reality, because Virgo, she's a steward of your life, and she is one who is in stewardship to her tasks on planet Earth and who she is. And very much Virgo is key. The deep Virgo, the true Virgo, the soul of Virgo is, I gotta take care of my body, I gotta take care of my reality. How do I hold myself? So she's a nest builder, and I say she because of I'm speaking to the feminine aspect of Virgo. And anyone, male or female, if you have your sun or anything in the sign of Virgo, it's a feminine energy, so it's got a more inward energy. So with the Gemini sun, which is a masculine air mutable sign, it's moving in a lot of directions. Thank God we've got Virgo there in to really help ground the situation. But it can be challenging. So because Virgo is also a mutable air sign, and Virgo is like, what do I choose? So the way Virgo chooses is through really discrimination and understanding what works and what doesn't work. And so skill building. And so that's the field that we're in right now, in this really plush field of open possibility and inward fire, flames of creative selfhood opening up, because we're in a Jupiter Sagittarius year. This whole year from late 2018 through late 2019, we've got Jupiter in its own sign of Sagittarius. So that's, and it's also making key aspects of, it's making 3 squares in the year of 2019 to Neptune in Pisces, and one of those squares happens this week on Sunday the 16th. So we're in that field in this second quarter moon that's within this the first half of from new moon to full moon phases. And so there's this real and within the second quarter there's this rooting to rise energy, so rising to meet yourself and to meet expression, and that's powerful. So, and very powerfully in how we're rising to, and how we're rooting in the moon in Virgo, and then rising to meet the fullness of all of who we are and our possibilities in our land landscape, in our present scenarios, closing doors, opening doors, because we've got Mercury and Mars in Cancer crossing over the North Node this week. Right now, also, from when with Mars is inches away from the North Node, coming into exact with the North Node, which is a big deal. And then it's also coming into an opposition with Saturn in Capricorn and Pluto in Capricorn. There's a real standing up to yourself and clearing up emotional patterns that are holding you in limitation, and truth telling and learning to tell the truth. But mostly the first person you have to tell the truth to is yourself. And so that's a key thing that wants to happen in the sign of Cancer, of just clearing up energy profiles that have been inundated with suppression and repression programs and fear. So just that's one of the things that Cancer, with having Mercury and Mars in the sign of Cancer, then soon we're going to be going through the eclipses. Come the next new moon seed point, which is July 2nd, we have the new moon Cancer eclipse, solar eclipse, and then we have a full moon, which is the lunar eclipse in Capricorn in the middle of July. So the Mercury and Mars with the North Node are here to help the situation, and because they're real movers. Like Mercury and Mars are moving emotional energy. They're moving their because Cancer is such a tribal. It's a tribal sign. Its key energy is one of belonging, and so the first person we need to belong to is ourselves. And so with Mercury and Mars there, these personal planets, and this is happening this week. So on tomorrow, June 11th, my tomorrow is June 11th at this moment, we have Mars coming into a North Node, a conjunction tomorrow at 18 degrees Cancer. And so it's going to spend June 11th and June 12th there, and then Mercury comes in on Saturday the 15th and 16th on the 15th is the day that Mercury comes and conjuncts the North Node, and then we get these oppositions of Mars to Saturn and Mercury opposite Saturn. So there is a real time of ending stories, and so this is a hugely relational week because of the opposition that's happening within the opposition of the building full moon. So it's just this open door again. So key oppositions happening. We've got the moon that's traveling all week from moon in Virgo to moon in Sagittarius, and going through the sign of Libra. I pronounce Libra, Scorpio, and then Sagittarius to really claim our, because of the nature of Libra, Scorpio, and Sagittarius, especially Libra and Scorpio, there's some things to clean up this week. There's some energies to clean up this week, and that's an ongoing theme. That's going to continue to be a key thing of making the necessary adjustments to get aligned and synchronized with your truth. And so coming into consciousness with Moon in Libra and Mars coming in a North Node in Cancer, there's Libra is ruled by the sign of Mars in one system of astrology, and so there's a real pushing out, pushing forth transformational energy this week of it feels like coming into one's power, more clear about one's objectives, what one wants to do, how to use one's energy. And that's key with Mars because it has a lot of energy. Mars, the athlete, and Gemini, and being in this Gemini landscape right now of claiming new domains for yourself and claiming your energy, specifically your energy. We're also in a Chiron Aries era, and Chiron in Aries from 2019 till 2027 or 26, I think it is, maybe 25, about 7 or 8 years. And so we're in this key time, Chiron the key, of clearing up our energy blocks. And so because Chiron also in the sign of Aries is ruled by Mars, this week is really powerful. We've got a strong martial energy leading the way this week, and it's emotional, it's awakening, and it's waking up the detritus of the past. If there's weight of the past hanging on you emotionally in your lower energy centers, specifically around in the second energy center, the second chakra, and that's in the belly, that's in the womb, it's right there in the navel, and it carries all the emotional energy of the past. And so if there's weight there, if there's heaviness, if there's if there's just, you know, spending too much time unconsciously in these negative zones, this is a week of clearing things up. And with Mercury crossing the North Node as well, one of the things, and because we're making these oppositions to Saturn and Pluto, there's also these bigger confrontations happening out in the world of government, corporations, you know, big institutions in which trickery has been a way of life. And it's been a way for many years. And where I see that the resolution to trickery is coming into truth. And people within that, it's become a way of life. It's become this thing that people can get away with. And so that's another thing. This is also a preamble into the next Mercury retrograde cycle, which is Mercury next week, right before the summer solstice, which is our entry into the sign of Cancer. We've got Mercury entering its retrograde path. So from July 20th until April 15th, Mercury is traveling on its retrograde path. It moves retrograde, so it's about a 2-month process, right? Less than 2 months. But inside of that, that's the whole retrograde path where Mercury is going to be inside of those the degrees from 24 Cancer to 5 Leo. And then within that, it's actually retrograding from 5 Leo to 24 Cancer. So those become the key degrees of the next retrograde path. So there's Cancer again, and Mercury's doing this a triple activation of the last 5 degrees of Cancer going into Leo. So this week is a really powerful week, and it feels like just releasing oneself from lies, from tricking yourself, from trickery, you know, getting ready to take this Mercury retrograde cycle. And that's a huge initiatory, that's an important initiatory cycle in truth, in telling oneself the truth, rising to truth, speaking the truth. And I say that about this week because Mercury, first Mars and then Mercury are crossing the North Node, and the North Node is directional. The North Node is telling us what direction we need to go in order to grow. And this is the transiting North Node. It's the current here and now North Node. And so wherever that North Node is in your personal chart, it's pushing you to grow through the sign of Cancer, saying this is the direction to move in. So Cancer is emotional, and Cancer is a water sign. Cancer is and its undertone is earth. So there's this thing that Cancer is actually, if you're a Cancer, if you have a lot of energies in Cancer, if you know people who are Cancerian, one of the ways that Cancer gets comfort is through nature. It's through grounding things. Now, on a personal note, I am a professional Cancerian. I have a key planet, and it's a very, very key planet, very strong in my chart. So it's a key energy to me, is my moon in Cancer, and the way it plays itself inside of my chart and its angles, it comes out really strong, and in fact ahead of all my other planets in terms of key energies. And so that's one thing to know about. We each have a chart that is very unique, in which you have the energies of all the planets, all the archetypes, but there's certain planets that come out ahead in terms of their key energies. That is really amazing to even understand if you appreciate those kinds of things, of understanding how you work. So Cancer, I'm a professional Cancerian, and as I understand that as Cancer begins to awaken, really awaken, become conscious of itself, it understands its emotional mechanics. And so one of the things with this week is since we are in the new moon GEMiNi landscape for a month, 29 days, and with Mercury and Mars moving through, Mercury being a ruler of GEMiNi, and Mercury now being a sign of Cancer, and Mars there too, there is a getting into more clarity about who you are mentally and emotionally. Now Cancer and GEMiNi sit side by side in signs, and every sign that sits side by side, they're like brother and sister. They're like arm in arm. Now they're not always getting along, because brothers and sisters fight, or sisters and siblings. That's better to say it that way. They're siblings, but for the sake of metaphor and to paint a picture, you know, GEMiNi could be the brother and Cancer can be the sister. And just for a moment to look at it that way. So because of, just to really make Cancer more feminine, and because Cancer is a water sign and Gemini is an air sign, and how very different they are. They're very, very, very different, but they do get along and they do need each other. So it's, that's the key thing that's happening in the whole 12 life stream sign journey wheel, that Cancers are emotional mechanics, and Gemini, which is a much more accepted energy in the world in terms of you know, what's really celebrated outwardly, and we have a whole history, we have a whole lineage of how much the mind is celebrated, the intellect is celebrated. And so we're going through this year of 2019 more than any other year, as we are finishing up, wrapping up a decade of this 21st century, the second decade. This year of 2019, we're wrapping up the second decade of the 21st century and initiating a new one in 2020. So there is a lot of wrapping up energy, and especially these key aspects that are happening this year with Saturn and Pluto making a conjunction all year long. It's a really amazing coincidence, synchronicity, that's happening in this wrapping up year, and there's a lot being wrapped up. So as you're coming into the clear with yourself, mentally and emotionally, taking more charge of your energy, and you know, it's like making these adjustments in your reality of things that need to be spoken to, breaking out of unconscious tribal agreements, and coming into self-belonging. That is the key thing with Cancer, because the unconscious Cancerian is easily swayed and entranced out by wanting to belong to the greater circle, wanting to belong to the greater world. And Cancer does experience things on an unconscious level, because it's just written into the Cancerian script as we're born to this planet, because we're always born to each other. We don't arrive here on our own. We may arrive alone, but we're not truly, truly alone. We are in a network of people and a nest. We are born into a nest. And with Mercury and Mars in the sign of Cancer, this time of waking up internal channels, crossing the North Node, it's about, we need awakening a species to its emotionality, because part of the emotional mechanics that need to shift is that of the corruption of the emotional body, because that's been socially accepted. It's been socially accepted to be emotionally corrupt, and truth and lies. There's just some big themes happening right now in which culture really needs to shift, and the way that's going to happen is through individuals waking up and confronting things. So I also see Mercury and Mars. There's big confrontations happening, and making those key adjustments about just being willing to let the things that need to go, because it's just becoming less and less worth it to hide inside of materialism and capitalism. And I say those isms because those isms affect us individually. And so in this year of individualism, as I call this year the year of individualism and claiming our individuality, this Mercury-Mars conjunction, and then Mercury and Mars actually do conjunct next week. So this week of the second quarter moon between June 10th and June 16th, with Mars and then Mercury crossing Cancer, the Cancerian North Node, making an opposition to the Saturn-Pluto retrograde. Just really, it's a really important busting things open, because of wanting to really open up Gemini, the boundary breaker, breaking barriers, innovation, ideas, creativity. Jupiter and Sagittarius, just dreaming your dream, living life, the adventure, your philosophy, making adjustments to your philosophy so that you can live with more levity and see things through glass half full and release the negative outlooks. Looking out. Another thing is just, I imagine a world in which we don't look at, we have released a negative view of the world paradigm. So we are switching, we're changing paradigms. We're in a time of massive awakening that I just think it's going to exponentiate these next 10 years, and it's going to exponentiate from a separation paradigm, emotional model of reality, of having to hide emotionally, and just a lot of enculturated ideas and patterns that really caused a lot of separation inside of families, and so that healing that needs to take place in order for society to heal, because that is what we are confronting on a much bigger scale. Now, to get back to the sign of Cancer, that Cancer sees things in circles unconsciously. It lands inside of circles. So the circle of me, the circle of self, the circle of your family, the people you were born to, no matter whatever unfolded in your reality, there's still that family that you were born to, and the circumstances of your blood family. And even if there's an adoption there, or step parents, all that, it's still your personal primary family and your relationship to that. And yes, your relationship to your biological mother and father and any other guardians who are there, and then the family of the human family, the families we come into as we grow, because there's also the peer group family. And Cancer sees things through family, so it's always through the whole, and it wants to innately belong, because Cancer on a deep level knows it innately belongs, but when it's wounded, it gets confused and it feels like Earth is not home, and where do I belong? So if there's a lot of wounding patterns in the mechanics, because the emotional mechanics of Cancer is to belong, and so if that gets messed with, there's a big entanglement inside of Cancer, and it's especially through the first 6 years of life are the crucial years in which the program is either getting layered in through functionality or through dysfunction. So those are the things we're clearing up, the first 6 years of life, and if any programs got skewed up in terms of internal messages, because that's, as adults, we can clear them up. We become our own parents, and that's essentially what Cancer and Capricorn are in this polarity wheel of inside this the zodiac wheel. They're mom and dad. That's one way of looking at them. So as you're inwardly maturing and growing, and coming into consciousness, emotionally waking up to yourself, and really creating a place of safety for yourself within yourself, as you're continuing to open doors and step out into a world that's safe to be in, no matter what, right? That's where Jupiter and Sagittarius is here to offer shifts in perspective, making that opposition to Gemini, continuing to make shifts in perspective within yourself, philosophically and mentally, in terms of seeing the system through a holistic unity paradigm, that we're all connected. And so we're all connected no matter what. So with Cancer there, Cancer wants to flush the system with emotional warmth. So one of the key places we get shut down and caught inside of the separation program is through our emotions and creating a lot of negativity, and it's through the child. It's through the Cancerian inner child that always exists. And so clearing that up, healing that, and healing it with warmth and kindness and unconditional love, compassion and empathy. That is Cancer. When Cancer opens up, it is the child that just receives with immense gratitude this opportunity to live and breathe and feel and love. There's gratitude pouring from and reverence and respect for life. And so if any of those things hurt or have been when a value system can't hold Cancer, and Cancer takes on a value system that actually emotionally depletes it. And I believe that materialism is a really poor value system that depletes deeply the sign of Cancer, and because it doesn't respect holy life. It respects money, and it respects people who are rich. It doesn't respect it, so it allows for trickery and corruption and deception to reign the land as long as you have money. So it's this twisted idea that twists up the whole system. And so materialism clearly is not an emotionally supportive paradigm. But it's a new materialism. It's a materialism that I feel that it's a spiritual materialism that allows for one to really appreciate every moment and drink in what is innately good. And continuing to cultivate, Cancer needs to cultivate reverence, respect, gratitude, appreciation, and Cancer being, again, the sign of awakening, of emotional awakening. It's a key to coming into presence with yourself. So all that this week I'm speaking to because of this intensity with Mars crossing the threshold, crossing the North Node threshold, and then Mercury coming in there. So that definitely could include intense confrontations with other people, but just coming back to the heart. Coming back to the heart, because forgiveness is absolutely a way a Cancer arrives back to itself, is radical forgiveness, compassion, and empathy. And those are the three, as I've been listening to things on neuroscience, what the three things that bring the brain immediately back into coherence, harmony, is compassion, gratitude, and radical forgiveness. And any kind of practice like that helps to bring functionality back into the body system, the mind-body system. So there we go. This is a powerful week, and continuing to close those doors that need to get closed, open up emotionally. So it's about opening up emotionally to be able to, and also standing within yourself, standing within your clear boundaries, because we've got Saturn in Capricorn there and Pluto in Capricorn. It's not about giving your boundaries away. Nope, I'm talking about authenticity. So, and again, Cancer in Capricorn and Libra and Aries are the signs, the cardinal signs that are about fleshing the system of inauthenticity, coming into truth through the present moment. And any last things that I want to mention? Yes, one more thing. We're in a year of 2019, as I mentioned, the Jupiter in Sagittarius, making adjustments to your philosophy so that you are living life with more adventure, seeing opportunity inside a challenge. There is no failure, or even offering, saying thank you to failure, because it allows you another opportunity. It's just, you don't want to collapse into just that square feeling where there's no options, because there's always options. And that's the thing that's what really wants to open up with GEMiNi and Sagittarius, is continually opening up the field. No matter what, there's always options. There's always a new direction to go in. So it's really opening up your creative mind and your creativity to come up with options and come up with new ideas, come up with solutions, because they're always right there. So it is about opening up your mental, emotional channels. And so we're in a year of Jupiter in Sagittarius squaring Neptune in Pisces. And Neptune in Pisces is key to opening up to the dream that's dreaming you. And it's right there. It's always there within you, inside of you, the dream that is dreaming you. And so with Jupiter and Sag squaring off with Neptune in Pisces in its own sign this year, it is a huge opportunity, a big opportunity to really open up a lot of doors energetically and going for it. And coming up, yeah, the square opens. That's actually an interesting square, the square that exists between Sagittarius and Pisces, because I also see that on the other side of it, that's where I'm like, oh yeah, that's where depression happens, when people don't know how to handle that energy between Sagittarius and Pisces. That's like the depression square. So when you start to learn how to take care of yourself, Cancer, little Cancer child, taking care of yourself, and no, there's always like, come on, honey, giving yourself the inner encouragement, get up, go. There's that 100% parental self-encouragement that's always there, loving you and affirming you. So it does talk, that inner voice talks to you firmly as well, but not negatively. It's not a negative, overly critical voice. It's always offering you love. So being in this week of Jupiter squaring off with Neptune and Pisces for the second time, it's making 3 squares. Jupiter and Sag and Neptune and Pisces are making 3 squares in 2019. It's opening up possibility for healing, a lot of healing, and releasing oneself from negative self-rendering, going back to old ways, just sticking to those old routes that depress you, and it's about clearing that depression and understanding how you work, understanding how to do things, realizing that we're in a world in which there's a lot more love and people we have 7 billion people and counting, and there's a lot of people out there who are really opening up their hearts and finding those people and stepping out. So it is about getting active, getting actional, taking care of oneself, and joining the tribe as well, as you're learning how to be within yourself as your own self-beholding and self-appreciation and self-gratitude, and stepping out into a wider circle. So there we go. That brought up a little emotion for me, the Cancerian moon. And please subscribe to my channel. I wish you all much, much love. Please share some comments if you'd like, and I look forward to my next post because I got some good stuff coming up. Thanks so much. Much love.